Chair Summers, the recording has begun.
Good afternoon. The March 27th, may I have your attention, please? Thank you. Afternoon, the March 27th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting is called to order. I am Sound Transit Board Chair Dave Summers, and I want to welcome you, everybody attending the meeting, both in person and on Zoom. Today, Coast Salish peoples retain their stewardship of these lands and champion for the continued perseverance of environmental and social justice. We honor tribal sovereignty and self-determination at Sound Transit and thank them for their contributions to local history, culture, economy, and identity. Today, we are offering live simultaneous interpretation services in Cantonese and Mandarin for those in the Ruth Fisher boardroom. If you need interpretation services and you are here in person with us today, please speak with staff at the table outside the boardroom. So let people know that you need interpretation services. I'll ask the interpreter, do we do that in person or is that just for Zoom?
Yes, we can do that in person.
Okay.
OK， 各位，我哋今日咧會係提供呢個同步嘅同聲嘅翻譯，係廣東話同埋國語都有嘅。咁邊一位在線同埋或者係你親身喺度嘅咧，你可以同我哋喺呢個會議室出邊嗰張台嘅職員嚟到同我哋講一聲就得㗎啦。
大家这个下午好，今天我们有提供这个普通话和广东话的这个同声翻译服务。然后，如果你是在线上或者是这个现场这个参加我们的会议的话，我们都有提供这个服务的。如果你是在现场需要普通话翻译的话，请你在这个后面的工作人员那里去拿一个这个耳机，谢谢。
Thank you. For board members joining via Zoom, please turn on your camera and state your name prior to making any comments or asking any questions so the public and your fellow members know who is speaking. Katie, would you call the roll, please?
Nancy Backus.
Here.
Board Member Backus is present. Claudia Balducci.
Here.
Board Member Balducci is present. Angela Burney.
Here.
Board Member Burney is present. Deb Constantine. Cassie Franklin.
Here.
Board Member Franklin is present. Christine Frizzell.
Here.
Board Member Frizzell is present. Hunter George.
Here.
Board Member George is present. Bruce Harrell. Ryan Mello.
Here.
Board Member Mello is present. Julie Meredith.
Here.
Board Member Meredith is present. Ed Prince.
Here.
Board Member Prince is present. Deshaun Quinn.
Here.
Board Member Quinn is present. Kim Roscoe.
Here.
Board Member Roscoe is present. Dan Strauss.
Present.
Board Member Strauss is present. Pete Von Reichbauer.
Here.
Board Member Von Reichbauer is present. Christina Walker.
Here.
Board Member Walker is present. Gurmai Zahalai.
Here.
Board Member Zahalai is present. And Dave Summers.
Here.
And Chair Summers, there is a quorum of the board at this time.
Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for being here both in person and via Zoom. So for my report, your meeting packet includes the monthly contract report. This report includes contracts and contract modifications executed in February 2025 under the authority delegated to the CEO. Also like to report, last week, Sound Transit, along with Federal Transportation Authority, met with the Tribal Council of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. This was a very important meeting which continued our relationship building journey by introducing the new Board of Directors members and Tacoma Dome Link Extension project leadership to the tribes. We discussed TDLE project updates and listened to the Tribal Council's project preferences as we move forward with mitigation discussions. Understanding the expectations of the Puyallup tribe is essential to the success of the Tacoma Dome Link Extension project. The next phase of the project will be the advancement of the geotechnical and archaeological investigations. These are very important investigations which will guide technical work and the decision-making processes of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. Our partnership with Tribal Council is paramount as we aim to build the first light rail on an Indian reservation in the history of the United States. So a very productive meeting. We were very grateful to be welcomed down with by the Puyallup tribe. So I don't have anything else to cover, so I'll turn this over to Jean for his CEO report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Chair Summers and members of the board. I do have a couple of things I want to report on today. I'm going to first start with an event that happened last night. At about 7:30 last night, number 1 line train became stranded between SeaTac Airport and Angle Lake stations due to direct lighting strike on the overhead power system. While the lighting arresters worked as designed, protecting passengers and staff, and thank God, everybody was totally fine and safe, the voltage was powerful enough to inflict significant damage to the overhead power system and the transition power substation. 1 train was stranded on the aerial guideway. However, we were able to send a rescue train to retrieve our passengers. There were 8 of them on the train, after confirming that the safe conditions were there so we could transfer the passengers. Currently, the Angle Lake station remains closed and 1 line service is terminating at SeaTac Airport Station. Security staff and fare ambassadors are on site to provide riders with information on other travel options. And we've been there since very early this morning. We are continuing to work hard to restore service to this segment of the 1 line, but we do not yet have a specific time estimate for when we can resume service because of the damage inflicted to the catenary system. Next item I want to report out on is that last year, the board authorized the Linwood Link Extension Team to utilize up to $15 million to address contract and agreement needs as the project approved revenue service and began preparing to enter the closeout stage of the actual construction phase of the project. Included in your packet today is a brief memo that includes the top line information on which contracts and agreements were augmented, by how much, and for what purpose. Of the $15 million I mentioned earlier, staff to date have utilized it by $9 million. Should you have any questions on this materials, please let us know. This is the first memo of its kind for S2 to Sound Transit 2 openings. So any feedback that we get from the board today, we will be incorporating into future memos to make sure that you stay abreast and we keep you informed of those kind of capital expenditures going forward. My next item has to do with the staffing change. We are currently waiting to start or restart the process of recruiting our next deputy CEO for service delivery, i.e. operations. We do have a staff update I want to share. Many board members know that Russ Arnold, who's been with Sound Transit for a number of years, has been playing double duty for quite a while, leading both the service delivery department and working as the chief innovation officer in our new strategy department. This was becoming untenable, and I have asked Russ to fully step into his new role as our Chief Innovation Officer. And Marie Olson has graciously agreed to step into the acting Deputy CEO role for service delivery. Marie has a lengthy history running railroads. She spent 10 years at Burlington North and Santa Fe leadership before joining Sound Transit in 2014. And she has been accomplishing work in numerous departments here at the Aegis, and I appreciate Marie's willingness to step into this acting interim role while we recruit for a permanent deputy CEO for operations. I will share that Marie has deep respect and trust among staff, and I'm confident that Marie is the right person to lead the service delivery team through this transition, and I'm confident that our passengers will benefit from Marie's leadership and operational experience. Again, thank you, Marie. My next item is federal in nature. 2 weeks ago, along with the members of our Sound Transit Leadership Cabinet, I traveled back to Washington, D.C. to meet with federal agencies and our congressional delegation. The goals of the trip were to assure relationship continuity during the CEO transition, which is underway, and to provide the agencies and delegation information on Sound Transit updates and initiatives. It was actually quite a successful trip. We had robust conversations with the Federal Transit Administration headquarters, the Build America Bureau, which is the agency that we work with for our TIFIA loan program, as well as meeting with our entire congressional delegation. And I really appreciated that many of them made themselves personally available to meet with us. That was actually very helpful. I just remind us all that federal support for our capital program remains a crucial component of our financial plan. During a time of considerable uncertainty at the federal level, we will continue to build and nurture transparent and trusting relationships with our federal delegation, the new administration, and new Federal Transit Administration agency staff. And that leads me to my last comments. I'd like to conclude my remarks today by acknowledging that while I do plan to remain to assist the agency's next CEO until May 2nd, this will be my last board meeting as interim CEO for Sound Transit. Later in the agenda, the board will consider the approval of Dow Constantine as the agency's next CEO. And regardless of those deliberations may go, my time at the agency will conclude in a little over a month. I would like to express my profound gratitude to the board of directors and the Sound Transit staff for the trust you have placed in me to lead the organization at this critical juncture. I do want to acknowledge that the work we do here is immensely consequential to the success of the region. It is often hard, often doesn't last, isn't often finished in 8 hours a day, but, and that's of course noticed last night, but the bottom line is that the services that this agency provides, both in terms of capital delivery program and the operations that we provide, are of immense value and is very critical to the future of this region. So I will finish by saying thank you all, and know that I will be at the front line and watching how things develop over the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeroen. Thank you, Jeroen, and I know we'll have an opportunity to thank you more formally later, but I just want to express my gratitude on behalf of both myself and the board and the agency and the public for the just amazing, outstanding work you've done as interim CEO. We could have not asked for more. We could have not asked for better, and you've just been outstanding to work with, and we wish you the very best. But we're gonna thank you more later. So, but congratulations, thank you. So, are there any questions for the CEO before we move on? All right, I had a special request. Board member Franklin will be later today giving her State of the City address and asked for a couple of minutes to say a few words. She will not be able to stay with us for the rest of the meeting. Cassie?
Thank you, Chair Summers, and thank you, Jeroen. You have been an incredible leader. We are so fortunate to have had you, and you are leaving big shoes to fill. So again, I apologize that I'm not able to join for the entire board meeting this afternoon, but it was really important for me to share a couple of thoughts about our CEO selection. So I really want to thank Chair Summers for allowing me just a couple minutes to speak. Our board and team conducted a very thorough CEO selection process, and I personally have struggled with our decision and spent hours of my time both in interviews of candidates, but also combing through the materials and trying to weigh the attributes of each candidate we considered. And we received extensive community feedback. I just want to thank the public for that. Our potential new CEO was vetted through our executive board process that I'm a part of, through the business community, through the labor community, and of course, through our transit community. And he was the top choice for each of those groups. Each person comes into a role like this with their own unique strengths and challenges, and Dow is no different. His strength is his extensive experience in our region and his ability to hit the ground running on a very complex system and an incredibly extensive capital project. A very big challenge facing him and facing our entire Sound Transit agency is ensuring that we make good on our promise. And Dow has stated this, that he is committed to completing the spine and delivering service to Everett and Tacoma on time. I believe we must prioritize the spine above all else. And although I won't be there for the vote this afternoon, I wanted to voice my support for this appointment. Light rail has not yet made it to Everett, and our community does not yet trust that we will deliver on our promise. So I'll be working with our new CEO to ensure we are able to deliver on this, and I will work closely with him to build and develop trust in him as our agency's leader, as well as Sound Transit agency within the city of Everett. So again, thank you, Chair Summers, for giving me a chance to share a few thoughts with my fellow board members this afternoon, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Franklin. All right, with that, we're going to move on to public comment. The board welcomes public comment as an important part of the public process. Comments are received and considered by the board in its deliberations. Board members have received written comments submitted before the meeting. I will now ask Katie to read names and summaries of those comments.
The board received comments from Larry McMillan, Lloyd Scott Bastian, Christy Dupuis, Terry Skidmore, Kelly Finn, Kathy Henkel, Marilyn Kennel, and an unnamed commenter in a petition email asking the board to vote no on resolution number R 2025-05, which amends CEO delegate authority related to executing real property agreements that do not exceed a certain dollar amount, and motion number M 2025-15, which approves an agreement to employ the next Sound Transit CEO. Also from Candace Shattuck, Jan Roberts, Donna Poppich, and two unnamed commenters asking the board to vote no on resolution number R 2025-05 as to not acquire property prior to confirming federal funding. From Matthew Crane, Elizabeth Reynolds, Lash Akinmulero, F. Spence, Alan Puckett, Stacy Valenzuela, Kristen Whitmore, Jan Roberts, Candace Shattuck, John Niles, Marilyn Kennel, David Cavazos, and 13 other individuals who submitted comments through alternative avenues, asking the board to reconsider the recommendation for Dow Constantine to be selected as the next Sound Transit CEO. From Rachel Smith on behalf of the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Seattle Associate, Commute Seattle, and Transportation Choices Coalition, as well as Joe Kunstler, separately supporting the executive committee's recommendation to select Dow Constantine as the next Sound Transit CEO. From Emily Gibson, expressing displeasure with the spring 2025 service plan, highlighting frustrations with Route 513 related to eliminating services and not expanding schedules despite public input and demand. From Brian Chow, expressing that the 4th Avenue station is the clear choice towards regional connectivity. From Betty Lau, suggesting translated comments from non-English speaking members of the Seniors in Action group related to lack of engagement and consideration of the Chinatown community towards the interest of a 4th Avenue station. And finally, from Amy Chen Lozano, providing a letter signed by 43 community organizations and partners of the Chinatown International District opposing a 5th Avenue station.
Great, thank you, Katie. Following the meeting, the comments provided in writing will be posted on the Sound Transit website so that the public may view them. So go over the ground rules for verbal comment. Before we take verbal comment, I want to review all the ground rules for in-person and virtual public comment. So I understand there's 20-ish people signed up for comment.
We have 19 people signed up for in-person comment and 8 people signed up for virtual public comment.
Okay, by rules, every commenter will have 1 minute and 30 seconds for their comment. All comments must be germane to the agenda items. Speakers should not make introductory statements and should avoid derogatory remarks, profanity, or personal attacks to an agenda item. Speakers should also refrain from comments related to a political campaign or statements for or against a candidate or a ballot measure. Speakers should not engage in conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of this meeting, including conduct that is not germane to the board's agenda or work. This is the only warning speakers will receive. These rules are not followed. I will ask for the microphone to be turned off, and I very much appreciate your adherence to these rules. So we'll now take comments from people in the Ruth Fisher boardroom based on the order in which they were assigned up to speak. Katie?
Yes, can the first 3 people come forward? Those are Betty Lau, Brian Chow, and Amy Chen. Please come forward. And as you come to the microphone, please press the button to make sure the green light is turned on.
Hello, I'm Betty Lau. The history of the CID is replete with forcible evictions committed by government in the name of progress, investment, and development. 1886, the Seattle anti-Chinese riots. Soon after, the first Chinatown on the waterfront was forced inland to 2nd Avenue. Chinatown number 2, in turn, was forced out to King Street to make way for the 2nd Avenue extension and downtown expansion. Chinatown 3, the current one on King Street, grew out to Rainier Avenue. I-5 construction in 1963 shrank it in Japantown by 1/3 and 1/2. 1980s Metro Tunnel light rail construction took out 3 more blocks on 5th, leaving us with permanent street vacations. In between, we have suffered from stadium streetcars, fiber optic lines, and its steady erosion of parking. And now Sound Transit wants to take away what little we have left of our land base, just like the emptying of the Central District of its historically Black population in the name of progress, investment, and development. Stay off 5th. I'm Betty Lau, co-founder of Transit Equity for All, board member of the Zhonghua Benevolent Association. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Brian Chow. It's been 2 years since Sound Transit promised a report on 4th Avenue North and South Station options. We were told it would take a few months, then 6 months, then a year. Now it's been 2 years. It's also 2 years the CID has been on the nation's 11 most endangered historic places list because of Sound Transit. And 2 years consultant VMS says north of the CID is second best and south of the CID is worthless because it doesn't connect to anything. All this time you could have been building the promised 4th Avenue's super hub instead of working on making the wealthy owners of the north and south of CID more wealthy, which creates a broken regional spine affecting the Sound Transit network. The 4th Avenue station is the right choice. 4th Avenue connects everything smoothly. 4th Avenue will get the most riders for the most 200 years. In the words of Bruce Harold, Sound Transit is a once-in-a-generation investment in our future. Do the right thing, stay off 5th, build the 4th Avenue station. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear Sound Transit members and staff, we, the undersigned, the 43 community organizations and partners of the CID, collectively and emphatically oppose any and all options to build a station on 5th Avenue. Any station on 5th Avenue is a gross misappropriation of land from people of color and encroaches on 1/3 of an already historically marginalized district's footprint. A footprint that has been chipped away by devastating transportation projects. The construction of I-5 took away land from hardworking Asian American citizens and disjointed the district. The construction of the bus tunnel further eroded our neighborhood. The Chinatown International District has borne the brunt of damaging transportation projects and urban development for far too long. Enough. We have been told repeatedly that the 5th Avenue options must remain on the DEIS for process reasons. This cannot be used as a cover to continue to develop options that would threaten the heart of what Mayor Harrell has called the gem of Seattle. The community deserves and demands absolute transparency. We demand Sound Transit comply with direction from its own board and halt all work and studies associated with 5th Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next three people signed up to speak are Mrs. Wu or Mrs. Hua, Dr. Connie So, and Mrs. Chan.
My name is Tanya Wu. I'm a former South City Council member, and I am here to read the names of all the organizations who signed. Oh, thank you.
Mr. Chair, we can't hear.
Can start again.
My name is Tanya Wu. I'm a former South City Council member, and I am here to read the names of all the organizations who signed onto this letter. We demand Sound Transit comply with direction from its own board and halt all work and studies associated with 5th Avenue. In unison, Transit Equity for All, Historic South Downtown, OCA, Asian and Pacific Islander Americans in Historic Preservation, Chinatown International District Business Improvement Area, Friends of Little Saigon, Sharon Tomiko Santos, Chinese Information Service Center, Chonghua Benevolent Association, International Community Health Services, Seattle Chinatown International District Preservation Development Authority, Interim CDA, Asian Counseling and Referral Service, Seniors in Action, Historic Chinatown Gate Foundation, Friends of Chinatown, United Hub, Japanese American Museum of Seattle, Panama Hotel, Asian Pacific Islander Coalition Advocating Together for Health, Chinatown International District Community Watch, Uwajimaya, Cow Barbecue Restaurant, Mach Phi Kung Fu Dragon and Lion Dance Association, Bagelpa, Pacific Corporation, Chihara Architect, Coho Group LLC, Chen Construction, Hop Sing Tong, Lung Kong Tin Yi Family Association, Villa Teacher, Community House, Story Journeys, Chinese Student Association, Good Food Arts, WPI Real Estate, Philip Fuji, Levita Ibella, Sun Burfood. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're all present accounted for, right? Nobody went able. All right. My name is James. I used to live in New York City, and I bought a condo in the National District. Why I bought a condo in the National District was so convenient because the transportation hub. I worked for Amtrak train for 32 years. I just walked home about 2 blocks. And it's a transportation hub for in the National District. Black South will be a Greyhound bus terminal, and also Amtrak terminal. We had a light rail, take 1 block, take me to the airport, and we had a streetcar up to Capitol Hill, and also ferry boats south of us, and also Pier 66 Norwegian line to Alaska. So convenient. And I've been travel almost every major city in the United States because I work for Amtrak train. It's the best hub in Chinatown. In the last 10 or 12, 20 years, there built a lot of senior house and also low income in Chinatown, Saigon, and also up in Whistler. So convenient. Please just leave it alone. How about use the money to support, build more low income house, plus use the money to hire more security cops to patrol us. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Connie So, an American Ethnic Studies teaching professor at the University of Washington and a board member of OCA, Asian Pacific American Advocates of Greater Seattle. Sadly, here we go again. While I understand that many unanticipated changes have occurred these past months, I hope that Sound Transit under CEO Constantine remember 2 major points that almost all Asian Americans in this area had agreed on. First, that the Chinatown International District is a unique Seattle treasure, one of the few truly pan-Asian historical communities, made up of many hardworking immigrants that persisted and thrived despite exclusions, expulsions, and other hostilities. Unfortunately, due to the current neglect, disregard, and it seems outright indifference for our community, the CID is suffering. According to FBI stats, between 2022 and 2023, Seattle's CID crime rates are 301% higher than the national average, with violent crimes in CID being 222% higher than the national average. In Seattle, we always hear people saying that they value being inclusive of various ethnicities, but it sure feels like lip service. The second point is our hope that this time around, you all truly listen to the voices of the residents, businesses, and workers of CID. I thank everyone being here today. I know it takes a lot of time and energy, but we cannot give up fighting for our community. Like our ancestors who faced discrimination, we persist and we're resilient. Together, we are stronger.
Thank you.
Did we hear from Mrs. Chan? If we have not yet heard from that individual, please come forward. Following that will be Mrs. Wong and Ms. Eng. Or Mrs. Chan, Mrs. Wong, or Ms. Eng here?
Sing Chen, Sing Wong, Sing Eng.
For the record, this is Alan Lai, certified court interpreter in Cantonese, and I'm a volunteer interpreter for the Chinese community. 請講。
Hello，大家好，我係關惠球，我哋嚟咗美國上嘅半年咯，不料係自己紅而家，而家為止我計過有一路，講得攞而家行路咪方便咯，阿爸是去哪呀講，我個個唔同意，即係堅持我翻紅而家能交翻嘅一路。呀，安那車方便，攞人家作業啊，方便去哪？希望大家支持呀，我紅人家呢攞人家。
I live in Chinatown for more than 30 plus years, and there are many Chinese senior citizens living in Chinatown International District. Many of us are not very mobile. We do not walk far. We need buses, and we really would like to have the Sound Transit station on the 4th Avenue. Please support us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
多謝
Thank you.
大家支持呀，我紅人家呢嘅。Thank you.
Thank you for your support to the seniors in Chinatown ID.
Thank you.
Ờ, 係咪有位姓黃太太啊 ？Mrs. Wong 喎，佢話，同埋有一位 Miss Ink。
一個姓黃，一個姓 A， 即係伍或者
呢個嚟咗唔知係
伍太或者伍女士，黃，另外一個黃，或者黃，
有冇人頭先簽咗名㗎？有冇人頭先簽咗名要發表意見啊？你係姓咩啊？貴姓啊？寫錯咗 ，so it's a mistake。而家我哋再嗌黃女士，如果冇，我哋就向下一個噶咯喎。So we're moving to number 12, Miss Ink。有冇人姓 ENG？ 姓伍嘅。ENG 啊？姓吳定係伍定係咩啊？如果冇，我哋 so you wanna move to Miss Huang？ 另外有一位 Miss Huang HUANG， 姓黃嘅。有冇？ OK， 冇啊。咁下一位叫 Crystal Tan，TAN。姓譚嘅。跟住又係姓譚啊，姓 Royal 啊，名係咪叫 Royal 啊 ？Royal Tan。They left. They left. OK。Martin LAU 係咪 Lau？ They left. Joe, oh, and then this is English speaking, I think, right? Joe.
And next is Joe Kunzler.
Walk-up music. Hi, Joe Kunzler here to address the board on two motions. The first one is on the Bowling Road infill station. Number one, I don't like the name. I would prefer it was named the Bruce Gray Station, or if Mr. Gray wants to decline, maybe we could name it the Karen Kitts Station or the Gorn Sparman Station. I think those are all good names. And I also prefer the staff preferred alternative because it'll be easier to connect to Route 124, which connects to my favorite place in all of South Seattle, which is the Seattle Museum of Flight. So that's going to be a clear priority to make sure that's considered. I really didn't care for the urbanist wacky editorial, but then again, we all know the green and white team is just as acerbic as Brandy Cruz these days. Moving on, 48 seconds left to go. We got a second resolution today. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. We're going to sign one of the greatest players that Sound Transit's ever had in Dow Constantine to be CEO. I'm asking you vote for this today. I'm asking you vote to sign somebody who has a proven yards after carry, someone who delivers, someone who got us ST free so we could have the spine through Payne Field to Everett. Mr. Chairman, I know it's a priority to you. and someone who did get us funding. I got 12 seconds left, so I got to talk a little fast, but we do have other transits that are going through death spiral that Dow Constantine has helped prevent. So it's important we get them signed today. I'm out of time. Go Sound Transit. Thank you.
The next three people who signed up to speak are Mary Kate Ryan, Paul Swen, and Jan Johnson. Again, Mary Kate Ryan, Paul Swen, and Jan Johnson. If you can come forward, please. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mary Kate Ryan. I am the preservation planner for Historic South Downtown, working in Pioneer Square and the Chinatown International District. I'm back again today to ask the board to do their best to advocate with Federal Transit Administration for a 90-day comment period for the forthcoming Ballard Link Extension draft environmental impact statement. The last environmental impact statement, when printed, was about a 1.5 feet tall if you stacked it all up. This one promises to be longer. As you've seen today, a lot of our community members do not speak English as a first language. It takes a lot of time for the community-based groups and your staff to help translate that information for digestion by the community. We need that support, we need that time, and we do need that language access. So we're asking the board to commit to that as soon as possible. We also wanted to say we do support the Graham Street infill station that connects an important part of our South Seattle community into the link system. And we do not support a station being built on Fifth Avenue. That will be detrimental and possibly the end of the CID. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'd like to retort to this recent turkey shoot by so-called media on the agency's hiring process. RCW 74.18.127, confidentiality of personal applicant information records. Public sector hiring practices must follow this. Anyone who understands management recognizes that keeping candidate information confidential is not only a matter of professionalism and respect, but also a legal and ethical obligation in the interview process. Granted, no system is without flaws, but laws give this agency a framework to operate within certain hiring parameters, along with every other agency and department under the state of Washington. So this recent belly aching shouldn't be with the agency, but with the RCWs. That's what Olympia is for. It's 60 miles south of here. Thank you. A quick comment as well on your marginal way station with equity. If you're applying equity to the Boeing Access Road station, you really need to afford the same equity considerations for the BLE extension and what's going to be happening in Chinatown, and eliminate that Fifth Avenue diagonal option and stay out of Chinatown. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
Is this on?
Yes. Yes.
My name is Jan Johnson, and there's 6 generations of my family in Seattle, West Seattle, Beacon Hill. I bought the Panama Hotel in 1985 to save it. It's all about culture and our city. The Japanese Minister of Foreign Affairs gave it an award, 1 out of 72 in the whole wide world. I'm very proud of that. And there's probably at this point maybe 150 kids a day. I just left them up there going through there. And they all come for the culture and education, and these faces are all different. And I'm so proud of that. But I think you need to stay off Fifth and don't destroy our neighborhood. I've worked very hard to save this. It's probably the only hotel left out of probably about 300 hotels that were run by Japanese Americans before World War II, has the only bathhouse left in the United States. Well, actually, the only bathhouse left in North America from 1910. And the first Asian architect in Seattle, and a student from the Rhode Island School of Design just got 3 awards for his thesis on that building. The first time in the history of the Rhode Island School of Design. It's a very significant neighborhood, and it's a very mixed neighborhood. I don't speak the languages of these people, but they all know me. I speak humanity. And please do the same. There's a lot that needs to be fixed. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. Lighting, goodbye. And the sidewalks. I can't walk on the sidewalks and there's no lights.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
The next three speakers are Alex Hudson, followed by Barb Wilson and Kirk Hovenkotter. Again, Alex Hudson, Barb Wilson, and Kirk Hovenkotter, if you can please come forward.
Twice. Okay, I got called twice. Good afternoon, Chair Summers and the members of the Sound Transit Board. My name is Alex Hudson, and I'm the Executive Director of TCI.
Go ahead.
Is that better? Should I start again? Good afternoon, Chair Summers and members of the Sound Transit Board of Directors. My name is Alex Hudson, and I'm the Executive Director of Commute Seattle. First, I'd like to recognize the board for your thoughtful and diligent work in selecting the next CEO of Sound Transit. This is a pivotal moment for the agency and for the future of transit in our region. I also want to extend my gratitude to Jeroen Sparman for his leadership as interim CEO during a period of significant transition. His steady hand and focus on accountability and project delivery have helped keep Sound Transit on track during this critical time. Thank you, Jeroen. I want to congratulate Dow Constantine on his nomination as the next CEO. Dow is a long-standing champion of transit and regional mobility, and we are confident in his expertise and leadership will position Sound Transit for the long-term success in this vitally important pursuit. We look forward to continuing to work with Dow and the Sound Transit team to enhance the rider experience and activate our downtown stations, ensuring that they are welcoming, safe, and easy to navigate. Sound Transit 3 construction and mitigation will be a major focus, and we're eager to collaborate on strategies that minimize disruption while maximizing long-term benefit for the community. And finally, we're excited to partner on connecting people to jobs and opportunities across the region, ensuring that transit remains a key driver of economic prosperity and equitable access. Thank you for your time and leadership.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Summers and members of the board. My name is Barb Wilson, here today on behalf of the Seattle Metro Chamber of Commerce and its 2,500 members to ask for your approval of motion 2025-15 to appoint Dow Constantine as Sound Transit's next CEO. The Seattle Metro Chamber and major employers across the region, like my own, are longtime champions of our regional transit system. At this critical moment, when the agency must deliver on ambitious promises of ST2 and 3, Dow brings deep regional knowledge, a demonstrated commitment to public service, and the leadership experience necessary to navigate the complexities ahead. Dow's long track record of collaboration, strategic vision, and responsiveness to community priorities aligns with the leadership needs and positions him well to guide the agency forward. We would also like to extend our sincere thanks to interim CEO Jeroen Sparman for his decades of public service in the region and his steady leadership during a critical transition period for Sound Transit. Thank you, Jeroen. Yes, I'll clap to that. We look forward to continued partnership with the board and the new CEO and to working together to ensure Sound Transit's success in delivering high-quality, equitable transit service to the region to support a thriving economy. On behalf of my own company, Microsoft, we also express our strong support for this appointment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kirk Hovenkotter. I'm the Executive Director of Transportation Choices Coalition. And first, I want to thank Interim CEO Jeroen Sparman for his leadership of Sound Transit during this critical time. I also want to thank Chair Summers and the board for this thoughtful and thorough process to find a new leader for Sound Transit. It is one of the biggest roles in the region, and transit riders are rooting for Sound Transit's success. The excitement for the openings of light rail to downtown Redmond, across Lake Washington, and down to Federal Way is palpable. Riders want a light rail system that's reliable, efficient, and growing. Yet Sound Transit is facing some of the greatest challenges in its history. Federal funding is threatened, the cost of transportation projects is surging nationwide, and our 15-year-old transit system is facing growing pains. Sound Transit needs a leader who will meet these challenges head on and deliver the expansion our region wants. Executive Constantine has been one of Puget Sound's greatest transit champions. He has been our loudest cheerleader on our campaign in 2016 to expand light rail and secured one of the nation's largest transit expansions at the ballot. We're excited to work with Executive Constantine in this new role to meet the challenges ahead and deliver great transit to this region. Transportation Choices Coalition has been here to support Sound Transit since the day we were founded in 1993, and we will continue to be here to support CEO Constantine, the board, and Sound Transit staff through the challenges ahead and build a great transit system for riders. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Switching to virtual public comment, the first virtual commenter is Ray Stephenson. And please accept the notice to unmute your microphone.
The Chinese American seniors are about to leave. To minimize the disruption to your meeting, Honorable Chair, honorable board members, may I use the mic and make the announcement in Chinese to tell them how to leave to minimize the disruption?
We only have, I think, 3 more public comments. Can you do it after that?
OK， 我哋仲有3個人，佢哋講埋，我哋先走嚇。我哋坐多一陣，佢哋講埋，我哋一齊有秩序咁聽我嘅宣佈走。Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much.
Ray Stephenson, please accept the notice to unmute your microphone. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Ray Stephenson. I'm the president and CEO of Economic Alliance in Snohomish County and the former mayor of the city of Everett. I want to add my congratulations to the Sound Transit Board for their careful and thoughtful deliberations, which led to the nomination of Dow Constantine as the next CEO of Sound Transit. I was privileged to serve with other community and business leaders on one of the interview panels. I came away from the interviews convinced Dow understands and supports completing the construction of the light rail spine to Everett and Tacoma as a high priority for the agency. Sound Transit is at a critical juncture with budget challenges and important decisions that must be made in real time. The board clearly understands the new CEO has to hit the ground running. We just don't have the luxury of going through a learning curve with someone from the outside when we have a talented, knowledgeable, and experienced leader in Dow Constantine. I wish the board, Dow, and Sound Transit staff the very best, and am confident for the future of light rail throughout Puget Sound.
Thank you.
The next person signed up for virtual public comment is Kristen Whitmore. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone. Again, Kristen Whitmore, please accept the notice to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Please go ahead. Yes, we can.
So my name is Kristen Whitmore, and I am a 4th generation West Seattleite. And I wrote out a 2-minute long.
Ma'am?
Yes?
We're getting echoing. You, I think, probably have 2 devices on microphone, computer and phone,
Yeah,
maybe.
Let me just get off of the Zoom.
Chair Summers, I think we have lost that person, but we will come back to them as soon as they rejoin.
Circle back.
In the meantime, the next commenter is Will Knedluck.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here to support Dow Constantine as CEO as the ideal person to deal with massive financial consequences of planned light rail operations across Lake Washington, identified by Sound Transit's recent $500,000 HNDB study highlighting severe stray current problems due to the agency's poor maintenance practices currently frying your own rail. and related steel structures, and thus necessarily to degrade the state's most valuable single capital asset, namely the I-90 floating bridge. As the engineering literature makes explicit, some level of stray electrical current is inevitable, even with excellent maintenance, to maintain and minimize destructive corrosion, which will shorten the useful life of the state's most valuable single capital asset substantially, particularly given microfracturing caused by the internal rebar because of the heavy weight of your so-called light rail trains and the constant flexion that will occur and destroy the internal rebar. I've contacted both WSDOT and the new Department of Transportation head about this. I ask that this agency take financial responsibility and that the new CEO post online both the study and the stray current evaluation report that's mentioned therein so that we can start this process in an orderly fashion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do see Kristen Whitmore back in the meeting. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry about that issue earlier. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay. Again, my name is Kirsten Whittemore, and I'm a fourth generation West Seattleite. My great-grandfather homesteaded on Beach Drive. My great-grandfather was the last mayor of West Seattle before it incorporated. My great-uncle was city attorney and a West Seattle council member. And my great-grandmother was a founding member of Alki Congregational Church. And I have a 23-year-old son who loves his roots in West Seattle. This is all to say that I have a deep vested interest in the past and the future for our West Seattle community. I had a whole 2-minute thing written out, sharing my opinions and thoughts on on the resolution and the motion. But I decided that because I have historically gotten no evidence that my comments are being read or that Sound Transit board is listening, that I just want to ask you again, after multiple requests, that you please come and meet with the West Seattle community and hear our concerns and our ideas. Please listen to your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next commenter is Mayor Thomas McLeod. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone.
And how many more do we have?
Following that, there are 3 additional people signed up to speak. And please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Again, Mayor Tom McLeod for the city of Tukwila. I want to say thank you to the chair and to the board and to the Sound Transit staff for your hard work and recommendation on the Sound Transit motion number M2025-14. The city of Tukwila supports the Boeing Access Road infill light rail station proposed at East Marginal Way South and South 112th Street in Tukwila. This location provides the best opportunity for integrated transit connectivity and walkability to the station. At this location, you will be serving the fast-growing neighborhoods of Allentown, Duwamish, Ryan Hill, and even the Georgetown neighborhood of Seattle. The station will also be one of King County's manufacturing industrial centers, a major employment hub in South King County. We look forward to working and collaborating with Sound Transit as we make this light rail station, first envisioned with Sound Move, a reality. I thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you.
The next commenter is David Scott. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone.
Hi, David Scott here for Seattle Subway again. This comment follows on from our press release this morning. I'm here to continue the conversation about trust and some concrete things that Sound Transit can do to rebuild the community's faith. While riders were eager for a fair and transparent CEO selection process, we are here and ready to continue our work with the board and CEO Constantine. Let's start by talking about this Boeing Access Road infill link station. Agency staff felt forced to disregard the potential interchange with a potential future Sounder infill station, and because of that, are recommending a station alternative that would make that interchange forever impossible. This agency should be a bastion of forward thinking, not limited by arbitrary delineations, and without a Sounder interchange, this station can expect a meager ridership of fewer than 2,000 boardings per day. At a cost of over $100 million, what are we doing here? Next, let's talk about the Stride S3 line, where the agency never even considered simply repurposing existing lanes on SR 522 through Lake Forest Park, instead deciding to spend over $100 million to widen the roadway against the opposition of nearby residents. Why? Third, let's talk about the routing choices for the Everett extension. Again, at massive expense, the agency chosen to demolish an entire stretch of existing businesses along Broadway rather than repurpose existing public right-of-way. Lastly, I want to reiterate our strong support with our community partners Transit Equity for All for a major transit hub in the Chinatown International District.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Marilyn. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone. Again, the next speaker is Marilyn. And please accept the notice to unmute your microphone. Not hearing from that person, we'll go to the next person, and that's Daisy Gould Wong.
Is it?
Daisy Gould Wong is the next speaker. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone.
Let's pause just for a minute, Katie.
Please pause for 1 moment. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're pausing just for a minute. We've got a number of folks in the audience who are leaving. So want to make sure our attention is on the public testimony. Hold on a second. Okay, I think we're good to go.
Hello. First, I just wanted to say that if the board cares about a Tacoma to Everett spine, then you would be supporting the seamless 4th Avenue interchange. And then lastly, I just wanted to say, board members who were appointed to the board by Dow Constantine must recuse themselves from the voting process, otherwise that would be corruption. Thank you.
Please, Joe, stop. Thank you.
And one more time for Marilyn, if you are wanting to provide public comment, please unmute your microphone. Please accept the notice to unmute your microphone. All right, again, not hearing from that person. That closes everyone who signed up to speak, Chair Summers.
Great. Thank you so much for everybody's attention, and thank you for all the public comments today. They truly are important to us, and we do listen. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. Katie, would you like to read the items on the consent agenda?
The consent agenda includes a voucher certification for February 2025, the minutes of the February 27th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting, and motion number M 2025-12, authorizing the CEO to execute a 3-year labor agreement with ProTech 17, covering passenger information coordinators.
Thank you, and I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Are there any items on the consent agenda that a board member would like to remove, consider separately? All right, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No. Consent agenda is adopted. So we'll turn to business items on the agenda. First is we're going to have a briefing on the South Graham Street infill station, and Brian Makic is going to give us an update. He's the senior project manager, and I think Claudia, are you online? Are you going to also participate in this?
I'm here. Yes.
Excellent. So maybe Claudia, do you want to summarize the committee's discussions and then we'll get the presentation? Or
Thank
we
you.
can do vice versa.
Well, actually, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to let the board hear the presentation that we heard, and then we'll give our recommendation, if that's okay with you.
Excellent. It's been a while since I've done this in person, so give me grace. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Summers and members of the board. My name is Brian Masick, and I work in Sound Transit's Capital Delivery Department. I'm the project manager for the Graham Street and Boeing Access Road infill station projects. I'm joined today by Brad Owen, Executive Director in Capital Delivery. First, I'll brief you on Graham Street and then discuss a formal motion for Boeing Access Road. And just to begin, infill stations means they are new stations on the existing one line. These are two separate projects with separate budgets, but the ST and consultant team are largely the same. And we're holistically thinking about them together along with other ST projects so that we can understand operational effects of construction. Next slide, please. We're here today to advance one Graham Street station design option into environmental review. And as noted, Graham Street requires no formal board action as the station has always been proposed at South Graham Street. Next slide, please. The reasons for building a new Graham Street station are that it increases light rail access in Seattle's Rainier Valley, bridging the 1.6-mile gap between the existing Columbia City and Othello stations. It improves mobility, multimodal connectivity, and convenience through collaboration with King County Metro and the City of Seattle to make potential improvements to bus, pedestrian, and bike infrastructure. It supports land use, transportation, and economic development plans for the area by working closely with the City of Seattle and the community, and it improves operational flexibility with a potential new crossover at South Juneau Street about a quarter mile to the north. Next slide, please. The project adds a new at-grade station on Martin Luther King Jr. Way South between South Graham Street and South Morgan Street along the existing one line. It includes roadway, access, safety, and utility improvements, and the project team is working closely with ST's at-grade crossing safety team to incorporate best practices. And our targeted opening date is 2031. Next slide, please. We are currently in the planning phase of the project, where we spent the last year developing and refining design options. And following this board briefing, we'll transition into environmental review. Following environmental review, we'll be back to the board to select the project to be built prior to launching into final design. Design is scheduled for 2026 through 2028, with construction happening between 2028 and 2031. And again, our targeted opening date is 2031. Next slide, please. We've been doing engagement over the past year, starting with stakeholder interviews with community-based organizations, going to community events like festivals and fairs, and doing some door-to-door outreach. We held 2 open houses, one in July 2024, focused on understanding the needs and priorities of the community, and a second one in February 2025, where we presented 3 design options. We've received a lot of great feedback, and the top themes we're hearing are enhanced safety, minimize disruptions to businesses during construction, minimize long-term business impacts, increase access and connections to the stations, and build the station as soon as possible. Next slide, please. And on the screen, you see the 3 design options we presented at the February 2025 open house. We are advancing the center platform option that's offset to the east, which is the image on the right. This option reflects community priorities of safety access, minimizing construction effects, displacement concerns, and delivering the station quickly. Locating the station south of Graham Street will increase walk access to more of the neighborhood with a more complete street grid south of Graham and close proximity to the Rainier Valley Neighborhood Greenway just to the east on 39th Avenue South. The center platform improves safety since folks only have to cross one set of tracks to access the platform, and it will make it easier to access the platform during single tracking. In conjunction with Sound Transit's at-grade crossing safety team, the addition of automatic pedestrian gates will further improve safety. And avoiding relocating a large sewer line in the southbound lanes of Martin Luther King Jr. Way South will help us deliver the project as soon as possible for the community and minimize construction disruptions. We'll start addressing specific access barriers and potential access improvement projects during conceptual design with our partners at the City of Seattle and the community. And specific property effects will be analyzed during environmental review, and we'll be working closely with the City of Seattle to minimize these effects. Next slide, please. To summarize, the project team has narrowed the design options down to 1 and recommends advancing the center platform offset to the east into environmental review. No formal action from the board is needed as the station location has always been proposed at South Graham Street. Next slide. And the next step following this briefing is to advance environmental review and conceptual engineering. Then we'll come back to the board in the fall of this year to amend the project budget and execute a contract option for preliminary engineering. Next slide. And this concludes the portion of my presentation on the Graham Street Station. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Brian?
Chair, just maybe now is a good time for me to share our discussion from the committee, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And again, we were not asked at the committee, and the board is not being asked for action today, but we did see this presentation. We had quite a bit of discussion on this item and the next item, diving into opportunities to improve the rider experience by making strategic improvements, such as a new crossover track to provide relief during expected and unexpected single tracking events. Members had questions and some really good thoughts. The center platform design, we noted, will allow riders to access trains headed in either direction. It's a safety enhancement and convenience for riders, and it's a safety enhancement because riders would only need to cross one track to access the platform. We did not have any feedback to change direction for the staff at this time. We felt that they were effectively weighing the project development considerations we would like to see them weigh, especially rider experience and community input. We will hear more about the work later this year, and we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Strauss, did you have a question?
No, I was just going to do the same thing that Board Member Balducci did, but she did it better because she's the chair.
Yep. Excellent.
And I get the staff notes, to be fair.
Any questions? All right, thank you so much. We will move on to motion number M. Hello. Hi, sorry, is somebody online?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Zahalai.
Yes, Jermaine, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, I received a message from a member of the public who had signed up for public comment, but felt that they were skipped. I'm wondering if it is possible to go back to public comment for one person who was in line for a very long time.
I think at this point, Katie, is that within normal procedure? I think we gave everybody adequate notice. Do we have a name of that person? Were they called and we're not there?
Mary Furtakis, could you check if they had signed up?
That's Katie is checking.
Thank you.
I don't see that person's name in our virtual signups or on our in-person signup sheet. Chair Summers.
Yeah, I would ask her to check back at the next meeting and make sure that we've got the sign-in procedures proper, but I think we've moved on from public comment.
Okay, thank you.
All right, move to motion M 2025-14. And again, Brian's going to give a staff presentation and we'll have questions, and then Katie later will read it into the agenda. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks again. Now I'll provide an overview of the Boeing Access Road Station. Next slide, please. We are here to seek board approval of motion M 2025-14, which identifies the station location to study an environmental review. And please note, a minor correction was made to the pink text on this slide, so it may be different than the paper copy if you have one. Next slide, please. The reasons for building a new Boeing Access Road Station are that it bridges the 5.5-mile gap between Rainier Beach and Tukwila International Boulevard stations, providing new connections to the North Tukwila and Duwamish manufacturing industrial centers, and increasing light rail access in southern Seattle and northern Tukwila neighborhoods. It improves mobility, multimodal connectivity, and convenience through coordination with King County Metro, City of Tukwila, and WashDOT to make potential improvements to bus, pedestrian, and bike infrastructure. It supports land use, transportation, and economic development plans for the area by working closely with the City of Tukwila and the community, and it improves operational flexibility with a potential new crossover. Next slide, please. The project adds a new elevated station with side platforms in the vicinity of South Boeing Access Road, East Marginal Way, and I-5 along the existing one line. It includes a bus transfer facility and a 300-stall surface parking lot, and this station is also targeted to open in 2031. Next slide, please. We're currently in the planning phase of the project, where we spent the last year developing and refining design options. And following full board consideration of the motion before you today, we'll transition into environmental review. Following environmental review, we'll be back to the board to select the project to be built prior to launching into final design. Design is scheduled for 2026 through 2028, with construction happening between 2028 and 2031, and again, targeted opening date is 2031. Next slide, please. We've been doing engagement over the past year, starting with stakeholder interviews with community-based organizations and then going to community events like festivals and fairs. We held one open house in July 2024, focused on understanding needs and priorities, and then we went back out to the community in January and February to update folks on the project. The main feedback we've heard is support for an East Marginal Way station location, enhance safety and access to the station, and minimize disruptions to one-line service during construction. We've heard that some folks want more than 300 spaces of parking and some don't see the need for parking. Next slide, please. The action before you today is identifying the East Marginal Way location as the proposed location of the Boeing Access Road Station for environmental review, consistent with staff's recommendation. We'll now go over the comparison of the options. Next slide, please. We've highlighted the major areas of comparison between the two options, with higher performing attributes shown in darker shades of blue-gray. In terms of cost comparison, the cost between the two locations is similar, and both would experience cost pressures that are being faced by the rest of the ST3 projects. In terms of constructability, the representative site has a large hill on it, and accessing the site will require vehicles to travel under the guideway on a steep drive with limited clearance. The East Marginal Way site is flat and adjacent to a roadway. In terms of access, the representative site is hemmed in by I-5, railroad tracks, and a highway interchange, while the East Marginal Way site has much better opportunities for multimodal access on East Marginal Way, South 112th Street, and the nearby Green River Trail. Both locations would require reconstruction of roadways, with the representative site potentially needing to reconstruct the I-5 southbound off-ramp, and the East Marginal Way location potentially shifting East Marginal Way. Both locations would require relocating some utilities and adding others, and both locations would have challenges with right-of-way or property. The representative site would potentially encroach on WashDOT and railroad right-of-way and wetlands. For the East Marginal Way site, it is located in an existing developed area, which could be better from an environmental resources perspective, but it could potentially affect commercial properties. Next slide, please. In summary, staff recommends the East Marginal Way location because it provides good access and a flat site for construction, provides opportunities for improved multimodal access, and is in an existing developed area. Next slide, please. The next step following this meeting is to advance environmental review and conceptual engineering. Then we'll come back to the board in the fall of this year to amend the project budget and execute a contract option for preliminary engineering. Next slide. This concludes the portion of my presentation on the Boeing Access Road Station. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Brian. Any questions for staff? Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's all right.
It's
been
just a Zoom.
I know, you don't, I know the names on the front. I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you. When you presented at the previous meeting, you answered all of my questions and explained a lot of the differences, since I don't have a good idea of those two locations. So I just want to say thank you so much for your diligence.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Katie, would you read this into the record?
Motion number M 2025-14 is motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority identifying the East Marginal Way location as the proposed location for the South Boeing Access Road infill station for environmental review.
Board Member Balducci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move approval of motion number M 2025-14.
Is there a second?
Roscoe, I'll second.
We have a second. We'll let you sort that out, Katie.
A strong second.
Okay. All right. Any discussion of the motion?
To speak to it, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. At our meeting earlier this month, the System Expansion Committee did consider this motion, and we have forwarded it to the board with a unanimous recommendation to pass the item. We heard the presentation and again had some robust discussion. We spoke specifically about the decision to move the station from its original planned location closer to the sounder tracks. Obviously, we would like to make connections where possible, but since the original conception of the station in the Sound Move program, the area around the station has changed. And as staff noted, the East Marginal Way location avoids difficult construction constraints and provides more access to local amenities, trails, and neighborhoods. There are future discussions to be had around ensuring access to and from communities east of I-5, and I look forward to us thinking that through and how we can make better connections to and from the station to that in that direction. We also heard from city leadership today and at the committee in public comment speaking in forward of this path forward and the new proposed location, and we did forward it with a unanimous do pass recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Board Member Balducci? Board Member Roscoe.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to publicly say thank you to staff for getting back to me on the ridership numbers, both at the opening and into the future for these station areas. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to resolution number R 2025-05, and Joanna Valeri, Managing Legal Counsel, will begin the staff presentation.
Thank you, Chair Summers. My name is Joanna Valeri, Managing Legal Counsel. I'm here to present a small technical amendment to a previous board adopted policy. This action would increase the CEO's delegated authority to execute real property agreements up to $1 million in value. In 2023, by Resolution 2023-30, the board approved an update to the agency's procurement agreements and delegated authority policy. That update, among other changes, increased the dollar value thresholds for items that require board approval. This action was consistent with the recommendations of the TAG report to streamline the number of actions that currently come to the board for approval. I referred to this as a technical amendment because although the staff report to the 2023 board action discussed increasing the dollar amount of the CEO's delegated authority for real property agreements from $500,000 to $1 million, the actual board approved policy did not include this change. We are therefore seeking the board's approval to amend Resolution 2023-30 to include the $1 million threshold. It should be noted that this delegation applies to voluntary real estate agreements only, such as leases, easements, and rental agreements. Acquisitions of real property through the exercise of eminent domain will still require board approval. This amendment is a small fix, but an important one to avoid having to bring low dollar value items to the board for approval. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions about this item.
Any questions?
Sure.
Yes.
I just want to be really clear that this does not include condemnation authorizations, correct?
That is correct. That will still require board approval.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Katie, would you read this into the record?
Resolution number R 2025-05 is a resolution of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority, amending section 2.12 of resolution number R 2023-30 to authorize the chief executive officer to execute real property agreements that do not exceed $1 million in payment to Sound Transit or the other party.
I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution R 2025-05.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All right, this again is a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Great, thank you so much. Right, we will move on to motion M 2025-15, and we're going to start that. I'm going to call on Greg Mosier, our recruitment consultant, to review the steps and process the board took to get to today. Greg?
Thank you, Chair Summers. And I just want to thank the Board of Directors for allowing me to partner with you through this process, and all the stakeholders and other members of the public and employees and staff that helped participate and provided input throughout the process. And I'd like to take a moment to just talk about what we did from the beginning of the process to how we got to today. And I'll go back to October of 2024 when I was first engaged to help the board in this process. We had some initial meetings with the CEO Selection Committee, which was a subset of the board that was appointed by the board to lead the CEO process. And in those first meetings, one of the things we did was we sat down and talked about what a process would look like and how we'd go about a process that was in-depth, deliberate, methodical, and made sure that we cast a net wide to try to capture the strongest possible candidates available in the marketplace. And so one of the things we did was we put together a timeline and worked backwards with taking into account when the transition of Jaron Sparman as the interim CEO. So working backwards from that, we selected today as a date, as a goal of trying to identify and be able to take a vote on who the next CEO would be for Sound Transit. Backing through that, we added a number of steps in the process. And one of those steps, going back to the beginning, was to engage stakeholders. And we talked about what a process would be like and how we would go about engaging stakeholders in a way that we could get meaningful information from in order to be able to go out and look for the type of candidate that not only the board was looking for, and not only that staff and executive team desired in the CEO, but that also that your stakeholders were looking for in terms of the skills and attributes. So from that point in November, we started setting up a variety of different mechanisms for listening sessions, input, and information gathering with different stakeholders. And I think we engaged over 50 different stakeholder groups and individuals through that process. And that process entailed email outreach, surveys, town hall sessions that I participated in and listened, and also video focus groups in which we gave opportunities both in the morning or during the morning, middle of the day, and the evening for folks to join and participate and be able to share information for me as to what they were looking for. I took all of that information and was able to put together a list of stakeholder feedback for the board to consider. And I brought that to the board on, I believe it was your meeting on December 19th. And if you remember back then, I presented to you a list of what I thought were the most important attributes and criteria that we should be looking for and considering in the next CEO. And I'll just take a moment to go through those really quickly because I think it's important to highlight as you reflect upon not just the process, but the individual in County Executive Constantine that you are about to take a vote on. Those selection criteria included the ability to engage with local leaders, stakeholders, including the board and your community, the ability to successfully lead and manage a large, diverse team of employees and organization, having the cultural awareness and the sensitivity to your stakeholders in your region, someone who had experience or at least success in the local region or had familiarity with the local region. We also talked about the ability to solve complex operating challenges. We talked about the ability to lead and navigate large complex capital programs and mega projects. We talked about having transit and transportation experience. We talked about experience in a large complex organization and operating environment. And also we talked about the ability and experience in communicating and articulating a regional vision for the community and for Sound Transit. So we took all of that information and we used that to reflect and refine the job description that we were ultimately going to share with candidates and also use as our public posting. And after the holiday season on January 1st, I posted the job not just on Sound Transit's website, but on a number of industry publications that touched the market both nationally and internationally. And from that point, I basically started to cast the net and not only looked at all of the people who applied for the job, but then also started to pick up the phone and reach out to executives both here in the United States and internationally who I thought were capable of bringing skills and attributes like that to Sound Transit in the CEO position. I had a number of conversations, and as you would imagine, there were people who said, sounds like a great opportunity, but it's not for me at this moment in time. And then there were other individuals who said, that sounds like a great opportunity. I'd love to be considered. We had the job open, and I was actively recruiting from the beginning of January through February. And we had over 60 applicants for the position. And I went through all of those applicants and vetted them, reviewed them, and considered them against the search criteria you established as a board. So from that point, I brought to the CEO selection committee 15 candidates, qualified candidates and qualified individuals, and their cover letters and resumes. I'll mention and step back that through our process, when we started the process, one of the things I talked to the board about was the concept of confidentiality. And this was something that we talked about very early on when we were laying out the timeline. And it was asked of me, based on my experience in recruiting transit and non-transit executives, what I thought about confidential processes. And I explained to the board that I find when you have a confidential process where candidates can trust the process, that you have the opportunity to get the best candidates out there. That at the end of the day, and in a case like this where I'm able to bring you 15 qualified candidates, you're only going to select one. And that means that 14 other people are going to have to go back to the jobs they're in right now. And if it were to get out that they were considering another opportunity, it could undermine their credibility with their local communities, their stakeholders, their leadership, and their employees. And so we did set out on a confidential process. And when I was talking to candidates about the process, that was a question that came up quite frequently was, will my name get out there if I consider applying? And I told them that I had the trust of the board and I had the support of the board that if they were interested in applying, that we would protect their interest and their candidacy to ensure that we could consider them and not have it get out there that they were interested in the position. I will say that during my outreach and reaching out to candidates, despite the challenges and the financial challenges you face in terms of being able to deliver on the capital programs and some of the operational challenges, the opportunity was incredibly enticing to folks. And you offer a region and a community and an environment that is really attractive to people who want to run public transit agencies. So it made my job easier. And also I would say that you as a board and your organization and your employees also have a very positive reputation in the industry. And that also makes my job much easier to be able to recruit candidates. Going back to the 15 that I brought to the CEO search committee to consider, I would consider them to have all been highly qualified, successful executives, both in transit and outside of transit, located and working here in the United States and other parts of the world. And so we spent a great deal of time looking at those resumes, reviewing those resumes. I was able to present to the CEO search committee my thoughts on what I thought the strengths and areas of growth were for those candidates and how that related to what I saw as the opportunities and challenges facing Sound Transit going forward. The CEO search committee at that point in time made a recommendation to the executive committee of the board of 5 candidates that they believed should be considered further for the position. And we made that recommendation to the executive committee. The executive committee reviewed the recommendation. They reviewed my recommendations. We did a number of steps of diligence in that period of time, and we began a process of interviewing those candidates. In the first stage of interviewing those candidates, we were able to do we did virtually. I think it was a very effective way of at least having an initial conversation with candidates to get a sense of what they were like, to get a sense of what the board was looking for. We asked a number of in-depth questions of the candidates, and it was a highly efficient and effective and also cost-effective process to be able to do that. The executive committee of the board at that point made a recommendation amongst themselves to bring in 3 candidates as finalists for the process to be interviewed in person. As part of that process, I did further diligence on all the candidates, reference checking, both that were provided by the candidates and the other references that I knew in the industry, and shared all of that information with the executive committee. And we prepared to conduct those in-person interviews. We asked, as part of the process, because it was really important to the executive committee and Sound Transit's board that we had input beyond just their own consideration, we asked a number of members of the community and a number of members of the employees of Sound Transit to participate in those interviews. And we imparted upon them how important confidentiality was for them as well through this process, and that we had what the executive committee considered to be 3 outstanding candidates, and we did not want to hurt anybody's job in the process. So we asked them to come in, meet with those candidates, and they spent a full day with all 3 of those candidates, almost I think 9 or 10 hours interviewing those candidates in a really lengthy and thorough process. In under 24 hours, I asked all of those stakeholders, including board members who interviewed the candidates, to provide me with feedback on their perceptions of the candidates. And I asked them to do that in a couple of different ways. One of those was through the criteria you established as a board, to look at those criteria and provide me with feedback as to how they felt they answered questions and they would be able to effectively lead Sound Transit through those areas of criteria. I also asked them to reflect on their ability to communicate and their ability to communicate with them individually and also be able to demonstrate a vision. And then I asked them if there was any other thoughts or input they thought or gleaned from the interviews that they thought was important for me to be able to consider and share with the board as they were going about making their decision on who the next CEO should be for Sound Transit. I think that your stakeholders and I think you as a group indicated to me that we had 3 very talented and qualified candidates that brought a lot of different skills and experiences and would all be able to do this job, but all do it quite differently. I will say that I was pleasantly surprised that from the stakeholders we asked to participate, we had over 100 pages of written responses and feedback from those stakeholders. And so I was able to take that information and I went through it page by page and line by line and synthesized it as best I could by maintaining the integrity of the feedback we got down to about 15 pages. But I thought it was really important for the executive committee and the board to be able to see not only my summary of the feedback, but also the raw input that they got from their stakeholders. And I shared that with the executive committee. We only had a short window of time between the day we did the interviews and the Thursday when we went into the deliberation to consider the candidates. And I will say that from my perspective, I thought that that the executive committee and the board really were taking into account the input from the stakeholders and didn't want to make a decision without having an opportunity to fully reflect and read all of that input and really digest and process it. And so we decided to take a weekend and come back for a second discussion point to be able to have further discussions, to be able to really reflect on all of that feedback and all of the information and the interviews we went through. And so I will say that from my experience, having conducted executive searches for CEOs for large, medium, small transit systems and other organizations all around the country and for that matter around the world, I was really pleased with the thoroughness, the length and the deliberation and the methodical approach and process that the board took to come to their decision here for reaching it to this point where we have a final candidate to consider. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the process or clarify anything if there's anything that needs to be clarified. But I want to again thank you for your time and for including me and allowing me to participate and partner with you on this process.
Yeah, thank you, Greg, and thank you for all your assistance. And all that happened in almost 4 months. It's been a whirlwind, but I also wanted to thank the board for the just outstanding participation. I think we had 12 or 13 board members participate in the process. So this was deliberative, it was thorough. It was my goal from day one as first as vice chair and then as chair to make sure we had as thorough and complete and robust a process as we could possibly have, and that we ended at the end of the day with a pool of really highly qualified candidates. So the board had the decision to make. So just thank you again to the board. Questions for Greg? Process.
Go
ahead, Jermaine.
Thank you so much, Greg. When you first sent the 15 nominees that you brought to the executive committee, did you personally have a ranking, or did you put all 15 on an equal playing field?
Yeah, I presented them to the board on equal playing field. I actually presented them in an alphabetical format, and then we went through and I provided my thoughts as added value as part of the process of the strengths and weaknesses that I perceived for the candidates, again, as it related to that search criteria. But I'm always very careful that, you can imagine that this is not a perfect science, right? This is not mathematics. And so there are different things that different people perceive, and I allow the board, the CEO committee, the search committee to be able to make their determinations as to what they see based on what I'm able to provide to them as what the strengths and weaknesses in their own minds as part of their fiduciary responsibility as a board member.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, may I ask follow-up questions?
Yes, please.
Thank you. How were the stakeholders selected that had a chance to engage in this?
Yeah, so I do not have the fortunate opportunity to work with your stakeholders on a regular basis, so I really relied upon the staff to help me put that list together. And I think staff used input from the board members, from the CEO selection committee, from a variety of, I think Jaron was involved in that as well. So there was a number of different people involved in helping us assemble that stakeholder outreach group.
Okay. I think having information from the agency at some point about how the selection process for the stakeholders will be important. And then lastly, as you know, the anonymity around the process has had some people questioning that. And there, as I interpreted, there are clearly trade-offs. I definitely understand the fact that we want to be able to recruit the top talent, and identifying themselves too early could put their other jobs at risk. So I understand that. And then, of course, the trade-off is the lack of transparency for the public. But could you just confirm that in your many years of experience that this is a standard industry practice?
It is. I would say it is a standard industry practice. With that said, there are states that currently have laws that are sunshine in nature, where there is a state law that requires disclosure of candidates' names. And in some cases, it's as broad that all candidates that apply are disclosed from the beginning. There are other states where it's disclosed when you're down to a final list of candidates by state law. And then there are other states that say once the process is complete, the onus is on the agency to disclose all the names that were in the process. And so I think the agency followed the law, but I will say that from my perspective, having done this a lot, when there's a requirement that we have to adhere to a law that says that we have to disclose names, it has a chilling effect on the process and the pool of candidates. And in this case, where you didn't have that and you were able to follow the law, you were able to go out and attract active CEOs, not only in this industry, but in other industries as well.
Thank you so much, Greg.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Other questions for Greg? Yes, Senator.
Greg, a quick question. This is Board Member George. When we consider who the final three folks were, is it? It was my understanding, so I guess I want to confirm this. Is it fair to say that the other two would not have applied if they didn't have the confidentiality?
I think without a doubt. I mean, I know them well, and I think without a doubt they would not have applied had there been a chance that their names would have been put out there.
Thank you.
Any further questions at this point?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Will there be opportunities to ask questions to the nominee as well?
No, until after, if there's a successful nomination and acceptance of that, Executive Constantine has asked for an opportunity to say a few words and perhaps send, because he's not in the room here this afternoon.
Chair.
Yes.
May I interpret the question a little differently?
Okay.
Is there another opportunity for us to make statements as to why
Yes.
we are voting a certain way?
Yeah, the next step is for a motion to be put on in order, and then we will have discussion and then a vote. So is that, one thing else I want to say, Jermaine, to your earlier question, when we were presented with sort of a list of 15, the search committee had opportunity to look at any of the 60 plus applicants. The 15 that were presented, I think some of the members did. This process was also open to all board members throughout the process, so we had very good participation. There was remarkable convergence in the group on kind of the top 5. They were not presented in ranking, but they were really floated to the top for almost the entire committee. And the same when we got to the final 3, there was large convergence amongst the board members on the top 3. So that's how that process happened.
Thank you.
Any other? Oh, go ahead.
Just thank you.
All right. So I will ask Katie to read the action into the record.
Motion number M 2025-15 is a motion of the Board of the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority approving an agreement to employ Dow Constantine, the Sound Transit's Chief Executive Officer, from April 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2026, with two 1-year renewal options at the board's discretion.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, now we'll open up the floor for discussion. Yes, Board Member Roscoe.
Thank you, Chair. For the sake of brevity, I just will say that the statement I had prepared is closely aligned with Board Member Bernie's statement. It was a difficult process, took a lot of time and thoughtful consideration and research. I do plan to vote yes.
Thank you. Board Member Mello.
Well, thank you, Chair Summers. I know that this board takes the selection of our next chief executive officer incredibly seriously. It's been great to work with so many board members who have carved out significant amounts of our time to take this really seriously. Greg did an excellent job of staffing us and supporting us and helping us find some really talented folks from around the country who want to help lead this really important agency who helps move people to opportunity around the region. So Greg, thank you for your great work. And one of the pieces of the process that I found incredibly valuable, and I know from talking to my board colleagues that we found very valuable, was the many different panels of stakeholders who gave the better part of an entire day to advise us. 4 different panels, we put the finalists through. And I appreciate the chair not rushing to a decision. We took the input from our community stakeholders of transit riders, disability advocates, employees, executive staff, labor leaders, business leaders. We took that incredibly seriously and did not rush to a decision. We actually, all of us on the selection committee asked for more time. And we got more time. We got about 4 more days to really ponder the feedback we were getting from many different key stakeholders. So thank you for making sure that this was deliberative, Chair Summers, with your leadership. In closing, I just want to express that we don't have time to waste here at Sound Transit, right? We don't have time to get this wrong. We don't have time to waste. We have such important work to deliver and so many promises to keep for the voting public. And I feel quite confident that the motion that's in front of us is going to really allow us to facilitate the promises we've made to this region. We have in front of us a candidate who has demonstrated experience to deliver big things, to really take on head-on challenging situations, be clear and transparent with the public when things are not going the way that we intended. And someone who I know this board can work with, and this board's going to direct for the most important performance measures that we're going to put in front of the CEO. So I'm looking forward to this next chapter. I really appreciate Jaron's leadership and moving us through this transitionary period, but I think we found a leader who's going to help move Sound Transit forward for this next really important phase. So thank you, Chair Summers.
Thank you. Board Member Balducci.
Thank you, Chair Summers. I'm going to be a little bit repetitive here because Vice Chair Mello said a lot of what I feel as well. It was really reassuring to have such broad involvement by board members in this process. It was really reassuring to have the technical expertise and support of Greg and his team and Julie inside Sound Transit. We were given an opportunity to really think about what we wanted in a CEO, what the agency needed today, given our challenges of the moment, and to put out a call for applications from people who could meet those exact challenges and brought the skills and abilities that we wanted to see. I think we all got a chance to ask our questions, to give our opinions, to hear from key stakeholders and community members. And this decision, to me, is the right one. We are facing some real uphill terrain here with our capital program, big decisions coming up, cost and schedule challenges. And then, of course, we have got state of good repair and operational challenges on top of that as well. And we're driving a system change and reform effort in the agency to build us. We've been growing dramatically over time to meet the needs of the, very generous direction that the voters have given us. And so it's a big challenge for somebody to take on and come in and lead this agency. And we need someone who's going to really, you know, to use the cliche over again, hit the ground running, who knows where the levers are and how to use them, who knows the board members, who knows our context that we work in. And Dow just sort of checked all of those boxes for me. And so I look forward to working with him. I do think that the proof is going to be in our delivery, right? We're all, as leaders of this agency, going to be called upon to deliver the spine, to deliver the projects we promised, to deliver them as quickly as possible and as effectively and efficiently as possible, and to make sure that we are providing a service that is reliable, that people will ride, that's safe and frequent and comes on time. And so I think that this is a start today. We take this vote, we have a new leader, and we are all then sort of all hands on the wheel trying to, you know, make sure that we deliver for the people. And that is, I think, how we can and should be judged. So I'm happy to vote yes on this. I do hope, Chair, that we will put some time on the agenda next month to do a more formal recognition of CEO Sparman. So I'm not going to add to this the length of my speech here by talking about Jerron, but I hope we get a chance to do that at our next meeting. Thank you.
We certainly will do that. So we're going to go Board Member Frizzell, then Bernie, and then Bacchus.
So I wanted to make a few comments about the process. I entered the process when there was 5 candidates to be interviewed, and I felt that the process went really well. I was able to be on site when we interviewed the last 3 candidates, and I had hoped that we would be looking to hire someone from outside of the organization, because I believe that that would bring a fresh perspective from other transit agencies, and that it would be beneficial for us to see it through their eyes. With that being said, I've had chats with board members and stakeholders over the last few weeks, and I've come to understand and appreciate the qualities that Dale Constantine brings to the office of CEO. He literally and figuratively knows the landscape. He's able to get to the work of being the next CEO quickly and efficiently. He's been part of Sound Transit through multiple CEO changes. He knows what's gone on, what's gone right, what hasn't gone right, and he's willing to work to correct some of the challenges that we have before us. I believe he has the drive to make Sound Transit succeed, and I'm eager to see how Executive Constantine will put his positive mark on the agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Bernie.
Thank you so much. And first, just to clarify, it was Board Member Franklin that spoke before she had to leave for her State of the City, and she will find that funny because she and I get confused for each other all the time. So
Did I say that?
No. Board Member Roscoe did. So I was like, I didn't say anything yet. So just for clarity on that. But I do want to thank the chair and the exec committee for allowing me to participate. I, as well as Board Member Frizzell, got to join in the last 5 candidates. And I think that was extremely important for me to ensure that I had a good understanding of who the finalists were, so that I knew I was making the right decision at this point. I also want to thank all of the community members that participated from the very beginning in this search. I think it was extremely important to get that feedback, as well as to have the panels that we had on the in-person days. So that was really helpful to make a good decision on this. And the last 3 candidates were extremely high quality. It was a very difficult decision, but for me, it did come down to the knowledge of the region and how to ensure that they know the direction that Sound Transit can go, and they know the pitfalls and the positivity about how we can get there. And so I will also be supporting Executive Constantine for this role. I think that he will, as everyone else has already said, he understands things well, and I think that he will help us meet the promise of Sound Transit.
Thank you. Board Member Bacchus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to thank Greg and Julie and you as chair. I was brought in late 2024 to help with the search portion of this, and I am honored to have been a part of that. I will tell you, I am tired for having been a part of that. There were countless hours, and I kind of jokingly have said that Sound Transit owes me a paycheck for all of the time that has been put into this process. But it is a process that needed and deserved that time to be put into it. I can assure you that every member of this board, I feel, is of the highest ethical standards. No one is indebted to Dow Constantine, especially for being appointed to this board, because it is a lot of work. This is not just a name-only board. We are all working all the time to ensure that we are bringing light rail to this region as we committed to when we put Sound Transit 3 on the ballot. I am proud of the work that we have done. I am proud of the deliberations that were had. I can assure you that there were some, maybe even some uncomfortable conversations that were had during the deliberations, even more to prove that this board is not going to roll over and accept anything that they don't believe is the appropriate option for Sound Transit. We are all here because we believe highly in getting the spine to this region. I am dedicated to that. I feel comfortable in the questioning that Dow is committed to that. He is also, he has skin in the game. He lives here. He has lived here. He's generations into this area. I am happy to support that nomination today, and I will be voting yes. And I look forward to the work that we are going to be doing to get the spine delivered to this region, into Pierce County and further into Snohomish County, just as quickly and efficiently as cost effectively as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Walker.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think I have any talking points that haven't already been said, but just to echo the appreciation of the process and the whole team that made that happen, and my support of Dow as our next CEO. What I do want to drive home as one of the Pierce County representatives is, and I'm sure this comes as no surprise, we are very focused on getting the Tacoma Dome Link extension completed and getting more service, particularly light rail service, into Pierce County. And Dow has continually reiterated his commitment to these critical projects and the spine. And I appreciate so many of his leadership qualities and his ability to manage a huge agency, his knowledge of the community and the region and the politics and all the things that have already been said. But ultimately, as I focus in on what the needs are for our Pierce County residents, I feel confident that his commitment is to delivering on the spine. And I also just want to add, and I think it's been mentioned by a few folks, this board is here to provide direction, to work with our CEO, and to communicate that back to our constituents. So I'm ready to keep up the work. I am excited to not have more search meetings, but I think the work here is really to get our new CEO off in the right direction in working with us. And I absolutely know we can make that happen. So looking forward to taking this vote and getting to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Board Member Strauss?
Chair, Mayor. As per usual, I'll be a little bit more verbose.
I'll try not to be.
I'll try my best. I'll start by thanking the executive committee for leading, and Greg for leading us through this process. Clearly today the strength of our board is very strong. Having tri-county collaboration and cooperation and our interest and desire to make sure that Sound Transit is successful is clear. It was also clear from the stakeholder feedback in this process that there was one candidate that stood out from the rest. And all of my colleagues so far have said it well. Yes, I will say a little bit more as we transfer pages. And while I have concerns that Dow doesn't have direct transit agency experience, this is not a prerequisite, as we have had CEOs in the past without previous direct transit experience, and they have been very successful. I do see that Dow has the potential here to live up to that, and he's being chosen today because of his regional experience, history with Sound Transit, and his local relationships. The contract that we are approving today offers him the ability to prove to us, and more importantly, the everyday people of our Sound Transit region. Actions speak louder than words, and that's what this contract sets up, that ability to put the proof in the pudding. And that's what I appreciate about how the executive committee has led us through this. I will now speak not necessarily about the candidate, but about our agency and the health of our agency and where we are. Sound Transit is an agency that is at a success or failure moment, and this next year will determine which direction we go, in my opinion. Colleagues, you may know recently in the last few months, I abstained from a vote because I wasn't able to receive the information that I needed to make that vote. Since then, we've made some changes and we have more communication, but as recently as this week, I also did not receive the information that I requested. And I just want to also note for staff that the staff of Sound Transit are in an awkward position right now between an interim CEO and a permanent CEO after a 16-month CEO after a longtime CEO. And so there's no fingers being pointed here. I just raise this as a flag. We have very good regional relationships today, and we also have the potential of that falling apart, because if each of us are pitted against each other for scarce resources, it will not turn out well for anyone. And if this were to occur, we would fail as a region. As board members, as has happened in the past, being pitted against each other puts board members into a defensive crouch, which then creates paralysis. I don't think that this will occur should the opportunities present themselves. And I'll share my vision to avoid this pitfall. It is a regional perspective. I've created a draft resolution of this vision and have sent it to Chair Summers and Katie Flores. Chair Summers has agreed to work it through the executive committee because it's important that all board members are able to participate in the crafting of this regional vision. And I ask for you each to share your perspective. I'll share just a few points about this resolution that I've included today because I think that it is important that we as a board, beyond just the performance metrics that are contained within a contract, are able to share our regional vision together. And so I won't read the whereases, but just to say the CEO should perform their leadership duties in an inclusive fashion, encouraging collaboration across staff and amongst board members while focusing on building regionalism and unity within our 3-county region. The CEO should prioritize the completion of the light rail connection from Everett to Tacoma and in that central spine in a timely fashion. And I've heard many of my colleagues say that it should not be delayed in favor of other projects. While also the CEO should ensure the goals of ST3 are completed as described in the ST3 Regional System Plan for Central Puget Sound, published in June 2016, understanding that building a minimum operating segment for any project does not meet these goals. We list out a number of different things that we're facing today, and that under Jerron Sparman and many people within the agency, we have started undertaking the solutions for. And so I list these things not as issues unresolved, as issues being resolved, which is the reliability and resilience of Line 1, the rapid expansion of our facilities. We've almost doubled the number of miles that we have operating today, and that's increased pressure on maintenance of equipment. The cost of operations has ballooned as well. Cost estimates across all capital projects are rising, and federal funding of the past is not guaranteed for the future. And that's the importance of us all sticking together as a region. We also expect as the board to have full information regarding revenue forecasts, budget projections, construction cost estimates, and assumptions, how projects will be evaluated in the light of decreased revenue and increased costs, ensuring ridership analysis is embedded in decision-making to make sure every dollar spent has the greatest return possible. And over the years, Sound Transit has notably focused on rider experience and security, which has created a better environment for transit users. However, more is still needed, and the agency cannot afford to lose any ground to keep our transit system welcoming for all. Yes, Chair, I am almost done. Also, that the CEO should work alongside the board to investigate the policies governing sub-area equity, how sub-area equity is working, what are the intended or unintended consequences that exist because of these policies, in order to understand if these policies support us being one regional agency or as many sub-area transit agencies. And that the CEO shall be accountable for holding specific measurable outcomes that are a separate resolution that, Chair, I know you and the executive committee are working on, that are tied to the specific performance metrics that are tied into this contract. I just say that to say that these two things are separate, and that the CEO shall demonstrate a commitment to transparent decision-making, ensuring the board is consistently provided with timely and accurate information to assess performance, risk, and emerging challenges, and to execute the board's vision. I won't share all the other whereas statements because I've spoken too long. I just say that I will be voting yes today, and that this contract has an important provision in it, that the contract will be reevaluated in about 1.5 years, which allows Dow to show us and show the region through action his ability to fulfill the full potential that I think many of us see. With that, I want to take another moment to again thank the staff of Sound Transit. This has been an unsteady process for you, maybe because you don't see the inside of the decision-making here. And as I explained a minute ago, the transitions between so many CEOs over the past few years. And I just want to take this moment to thank you for your work. Thank you for your service to our region, because without you, many people cannot get where they want to go. Can't get to work, can't see their family and friends, can't get between our cities. And so I just want to take this moment to thank you as the staff of Sound Transit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Strauss, and you're always welcome to have the time you need, as is every board member, to fully express themselves. So thank you. Other comments? Yes. Board Member George.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In my second meeting, I've learned that if I follow Board Member Strauss, I'm going to appear to be really brief. And I say that teasing my new friend. Again, it's my second meeting. Hi. This was quite a thing to start with. I want to thank Greg and Julie and all the work. This was an incredibly thoughtful, thorough, and deliberate process, and a really quick one. And that is really, really impressive. I came into this with a healthy degree of skepticism and hoping for a unicorn. I've learned that there are no unicorns. I still trying to believe in Bigfoot, but I understand there are no unicorns. That unicorn would have been someone from far away who's led giant transit agencies and built billions of dollars worth of transit systems. And the reality is you can only consider the people who apply. You consider the people who are in front of you. And we had excellent candidates. We talked about the confidentiality piece earlier, and it's really unfortunate, and it's but I'm also aware that the folks we interviewed, 2 of them wouldn't have stepped forward if they didn't have that, and I understand why. They're both very accomplished executives. So I'm at the end of that. I kind of like Mayor Franklin. I sat with this for days and read the whole packet from Greg. That was Greg. That was a great. I really appreciated how you didn't just summarize the feedback. You gave us a lot of raw feedback, and it became clear that Dow Constantine is the most qualified candidate for the position. It's not to say the others weren't. Each brought different strengths. They brought different experiences. And he will hit the ground running, as people said. I'm going to add to that a distinction between hiring Dow and hiring someone from out of state is he doesn't get a honeymoon. He's been part of this organization for a long time, and so he will hit the ground running, and the expectations will be high, as opposed to someone coming from out of state where it would take a year. Again, I've only been here a couple of months, and I don't know where anything is. I'm still trying to remember all these names and trying not to use any names because I know I'm going to get them wrong. And it's a lot. This is a big, heavy organization doing a lot of things. And so I appreciate where we landed, and I appreciate the process and how we got here. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, board members? All right, well, I'm going to take this opportunity to wrap up. I have about 10 pages of prepared comments also, which I will defer on, and you're going to hear. I will be brief, but I think it's important to express the logic and how I got here. It's quite clear Sound Transit's facing some headwinds. We have some challenges with cost escalations on materials and labor and land, et cetera, which are creating issues as we move forward to deliver on the capital program. We've got maintenance and operation challenges that need to be addressed immediately by the CEO. As the system grows, our maintenance function and needs grows along with it, and that is really an evolutionary process. The finances have some severe limitations on them. There's the uncertainty of federal funding. There is the whole issue and how we finish the spine. It's something that's been promised for decades, but as well as the whole ST3 package. So the new CEO really is going to be facing a number of challenges, and the person best able to do that is somebody that is well-founded, well-versed in the agency, the region, the partners, the communities, and really the issues. And Dow really, at the end of the day, rose to the top because of that, his ability to start running. And he does run, and has for 16 years, a very large organization, King County, which includes Metro. So he's not unfamiliar with any of these issues. He's also dedicated a good part of his political career to advancing Sound Transit and the development of transit system throughout the region. So he's personally invested. And his ability to start running, somebody said this, but at the end of the day, we don't have a year for a new CEO to learn how to pronounce Puyallup. So Dow's got that one down. He really, it's a tough job. When he told me he was thinking about applying, I told him he's nuts. I still think he's nuts. But he's very excited about it and personally invested, and that's going to make him and us, all of us, successful. So we heard from stakeholders the same thing, that having direct knowledge in their communities and ability to both listen and understand the issues throughout the region was very important. Dow can deliver that. We had an excellent pool. Again, you've heard that. So there were no easy choices, but at the end of the day, to me, his ability to really step in, his accomplishments over the decades, his real commitment to Sound Transit just made him the clear favorite. And he'll also be able to continue the work that interim CEO Sparman has advanced over the last year. And as I said earlier, really outstanding, excellent work. The agency has not paused. It's moved forward during that year. And so, Jeroen, again, thank you. So the board will work closely with the new CEO on our vision, mission, goals. And I have forwarded your resolution to the executive committee for discussion along with it. We've got more work in the coming months. We need some board retreats to discuss all these issues. We've got many to go through, build a common vision, common understanding, and how we get from where we are today to where we want to go. So metrics, performance metrics, and that vision are all critical part of that. So I just, again, thank you everybody for your participation, more work to do. And with that, I think I will close unless there's anybody that's just absolutely dying. All right. Is there a motion to approve M 2025-15? Did we already have that? We already did that? Okay. How long ago was that? All right, we'll call for the roll.
Nancy Backus.
Aye.
Board Member Backus votes aye. Claudia Balducci.
Aye.
Board Member Balducci votes aye. Angela Burney.
Aye.
Board Member Burney votes aye. Dow Constantine. Cassie Franklin. Christine Frizzell.
Aye.
Board Member Frizzell votes aye. Hunter George.
Aye.
Board Member George votes aye. Bruce Harrell. Ryan Mello.
Aye.
Board Member Mello votes aye. Julie Meredith.
Aye.
Board Member Meredith votes aye. Ed Prince.
Aye.
Board Member Prince votes aye. Deshaun Quinn.
Aye.
Board Member Quinn votes aye. Kim Roscoe.
Aye.
Board Member Roscoe votes aye. Dan Strauss.
Yes.
Board Member Strauss votes aye. Pete Von Reichbauer. Board Member Von Reichbauer votes aye. Christina Walker.
Aye.
Board Member Walker votes aye. Gurmai Zahalai.
Aye.
Board Member Zahalai votes aye. And Dave Summers.
Aye.
And Chair Summers, with your vote, that's 15 affirmative votes.
Thank you. Motion carries. So Dow has asked for the opportunity to say a few words, and I'll do that before we close out the meeting. So if whoever's taking care of that part of this will do so, that'd be great. Not till the 26th. Yes, please. You have the floor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Kunzler. It is an honor to be before you today as the incoming CEO of an agency that means so much to our residents, to our region, and really to me personally. I'm humbled to be here for the first time in 20 years in a different role, not as your peer, but as your incoming CEO in service to the board and to the communities each of you capably represent and serve. I want to thank you for what you've already chronicled in your discussions. I was listening off to the side as extensive and inclusive, and I think speaking for myself, I can say exhaustive process over the course of months. It was, I think, the best example we have had in my time of the board truly owning the process of hiring the CEO. And I want to compliment you, Mr. Chair, and all the board members who put so much time and effort into this. As I begin this new chapter with the board and with the talented staff of the agency, I look forward to spending time to understand and elevate your priorities and the priorities of each sub-area while keeping regionalism as our North Star. We had a retreat about a year ago where we really began to recenter regionalism as a board value, and I think that is critically important. I heard you, Mr. Chair, mention the possibility of another board retreat. We could have it in Puyallup, possibly. I don't have to tell you that Sound Transit is facing headwinds on many fronts, from our capital expansion to the resiliency and reliability of our systems to obviously really complex federal landscape. As CEO, I commit to you that I will prioritize regionalism, transparency, stability, and an excellent experience for our customers, including reliability and safety and cleanliness. We will navigate these choppy waters together. I believe wholeheartedly in the mission of Sound Transit. That is why I've spent so much of my career to date trying to advance the work that we're doing here. The voters have asked us to deliver, and we intend to do so. I will work tirelessly to translate this board's vision and direction into outcomes that serve the region. I would want to before I'm done here, thank Jerron Sparman. I think we'll have an opportunity to thank you more at the meeting next month. But bringing on Jerron was, I think, one of the best decisions I've made in my time as executive, in my time on this board. I'm going to insist that he stick around here just a little while longer to keep sharing his brilliance with us. With that, I sincerely thank each one of you. I know this is a hard process. It's a difficult decision because I've been through it before. But your vote of confidence means the world to me, and I am excited to get started immediately on the work before us. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Well, with that, there's no other reports. There's no need for an executive session. Is there any other business come before the board? No. Our next regular Board of Directors meeting will take place on April 24th, 2025 from 1:30 to 4. The meeting will take place in the Ruth Fisher Boardroom as well as via Zoom. The link to join the virtual meeting will be provided on the Sound Transit website and on the meeting agenda. We are adjourned.